Well, we have a crisis developing right now in this country, not to mention the ones that are all over the world right now. War in Israel, potentially the Middle East now, they're on alert. So all of this is developing on a very busy Monday, and concerns over a potential recession now are causing stocks to plunge. They've come back from where they were well over 1,100 when stocks opened this morning, but they're still in triple-digit, really high triple-digit number losses at this point. The Dow down now by 809, 810, and we count on. Japan's Nikkei index has its worst day since the Black Monday crash nearly 40 years ago. So we are all globally connected, and we tend to think that we are on top here in the United States because we are. So when our world rocks, everybody's does. The Middle East, again, is on the brink of a wider war. Israeli officials are bracing for a potential attack from Iran, and it could happen, we're told, as early as today. So they're ahead of us in hours. That means imminently, because it's dark there now. President Biden will meet with his national security team in the Situation Room. We're told that that will happen at 2 p.m. Eastern. And the Pentagon says the United States is prepared for every possibility as Iran vows to, quote, punish Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East. We have many American citizens there that have dual citizenship with us here. Israelis and American citizens, dual citizenship. Some of them are fighting in the IDF right now. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-hosts Kayleigh McEnany and Emily Campagno. Also joining us today, Fox and Friends First co-host Carly Shimkus, and Fox News contributor and host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio, Guy Benson. Let's start with Alex Hogan, who is live for us in Tel Aviv, Israel, with the latest on the ground there. So imminent danger is what the alerts are coming across. What's it like to be there, Alex?
Hi, Harris. Well, the sun is setting. It is another day of high tension here as people are bracing for what could be an Iranian attack, something that we have been repeatedly hearing the growing concerns, not just here on the ground, but internationally. And today, Iran says that retaliation will happen and it will be severe. But this is a look at the U.S. Navy's assets within the Middle East as the U.S. really tries to shore up its military might to support Israel's defense. Now, diplomatically, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Sunday spoke with G7 foreign ministers, urging de-escalation. This weekend, Israeli officials held defensive talks on the likely kinds of Iranian attacks that we could see play out. And much of the preparing that we've seen is centered around Iran's attack in April, when it launched about 300 drones and missiles toward Israel, all of that taking place within one night alone. Iran today also sending this warning to Washington.
If the American government had acted on its moral, legal and human responsibility and put pressure on the Zionist regime, we would not have seen this level of instability in the region.
Well, in Gaza today, Hamas militants fired about 15 rockets from the southern part of the Strip into Israeli territory. But it follows a weekend that was violent in the war that saw dozens of Palestinians killed in airstrikes, according to Hamas and the health ministry there, which warned that the death toll there has now surpassed 39,000 people killed in the last 10 months. Now, looking to the northern part of Israel, back and forth crossfire today between the IDF and Hezbollah, which we saw repeatedly take place just in the last several days. The IAF says that it took out a Hezbollah weapons storage facility. This is other countries are now sounding the alarm. The World Health Organization today delivered 32 tons of medical supplies, including trauma kits, to Lebanon for hospitals to stock up as tensions mount. This comes as the U.S., France, and the U.K. this weekend all called on their citizens in Lebanon to leave the country as soon as possible, and if they are not leaving, that they need to shelter in place. Now, while that is taking place in Lebanon, Iran today is warning airlines not to fly over its airspace. So incredibly high tensions here on the ground and throughout the region, as well as here taking place in Israel. The country's defense minister spoke to forces today, saying that they need to be prepared to defend the country and they need to be prepared to switch gears and to fire back offensively. Harris.
Wow. And meanwhile, there are about 100,000 people we've been reporting that have been displaced along the northern border with Lebanon, which we know that's Hezbollah as the proxy for Iran. So we could see a lot of movement along that border potentially, too. Let's hope not. All right, Alex, thank you very much.
That's
Guy,
true.
I'm going to come to you. This is quite the moment. Like, I don't think we've ever faced a time in history where a candidate has pulled out of a race for the White House and now is going to negotiate our way forward in one of the most precarious times that we've seen in the Middle East.
The news cycle has been overwhelming for more than a month. I think we're all feeling that. I think voters are feeling that. I was struck listening to the soundbite that we played through the translator of an Iranian official attacking the Zionist entity, meaning Israel, for the instability in the region. The gall of these liars. Instability in that region has a name. It's Iran. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, they're the ones sowing this death and destruction. And I think it's so telling over the course of the war in Gaza, which has been 100% justified by what happened on October 7th, the people, the usual suspects who always blame Israel and always attack the one Jewish state in the world, they've hidden behind various reasons for their supposed outrage, like civilian casualties and that sort of thing. Well, in the last few weeks, what have we seen? The Israelis executing pinpoint, precision, surgical strikes on top terrorists, and they're still mad at Israel. And it's still Israel escalating. No, Israel is responding by taking out terror masterminds, and the people who hate the Israelis are screaming bloody murder as usual.
Look, Americans have so much to deal with. They're watching the markets move in a very negative way today, and from experts that I've been talking with, there's twofold. It's the energy coming out of the Middle East because countries are realizing now we can't get to those shipping lanes that we need. I mean, that's already impacted our prices for oil. But the other thing that we're watching now, too, outside of the energy, is just the price of everything is up. Our ability to be resilient as a country economically in this moment is hitting. That's playing a role on the stock markets, too. So the world is watching us right now. Where in the world are the people who are supposed to update us? 2:15 is a long ways away when this started overnight.
That's the question. We have a twofold crisis. 2:15 p.m. Eastern time, they will be in the Situation Room. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. Does anyone have confidence in the people who are going to be making decisions on these crises? No, and I maintain you shouldn't. On, I believe it was January 12th of this year, Joe Biden was asked, April 12th, excuse me, what do you say to Iran as they consider waging war on Israel? He said, don't, okay? Sometimes you need more than a syllable if you want to deter an adversary. He said don't. Well, guess what? Iran did the very next day. Kamala Harris put out a tweet January 3rd, 2020, accusing Donald Trump of almost starting war because he took out Soleimani. These are people who don't understand deterrence, don't understand effective communication. Joe Biden last week, his word to Putin, stop. Stop, don't. People are not understanding that. Adversaries don't understand that. You need more than a syllable, and I don't trust those two minds coming together in this situation.
And I know you have toddlers in your household. They don't even follow those words.
They don't.
So yes. I get it. Emily.
Right, and keep in mind this weekend, too, when asked by reporters whether Iran would stand down, the president said, I hope so, I don't know. So in addition to just the ineffective and the lame, don't and not, he's literally saying, I'm not sure. And this kind of feckless leadership, the kind of wishy-washy that we are seeing as well from the vice president, who also this weekend we learned from Kirby was part of authorizing force, support over there. But flashback to 2020 when she was one of the large proponents of the No War Against Iran bill. She said at the time, we don't want Trump to take us unilaterally into war. I will not support any type of funds over there. So here we have one leader that isn't a leader, and we have one leader that can't make up her mind. And what did we learn last week with that historic prisoner swap? We learned the importance of allyship. We learn the importance of these global relationships that we hope to rely on as Americans, that our leaders will carry through. What did we also learn from the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal? Can we count on these leaders to carry through? Because right now in the Middle East, our allies there are aligned with parts of the Islamic Republic or parts of Iran that say we are not the Islamic Republic. We want stability. We want economic prosperity. We do not like Hezbollah and all of these proxies cropping up. We do not want that. We want stability because we want to preserve our economic interests. And to do so, we acknowledge the Jewish state sovereignty. That's the majority. The minority are these terrorists. The minority are these anti-Semitic positions. So when Prime Minister Netanyahu says, be prepared for a multi-front war, I hope our leaders take that into account because that includes the home front, the anti-Semitism, and the support publicly and without any type of hindrance for Israel.
So what I love about that, it ties in what you were saying. Guy Benson, about how the Jewish state gets picked on. So you're right, the terrorists are outnumbered, but the people who are complicit in them retaining power in their bloodthirsty realm here, they outnumber everybody else. Because those people who support them are all over the Middle East. I mean, we see this with Hamas. And, you know, maybe people in Gaza are waking up to it now, but when you support killers, they'll put you in harm's way. They'll kill you too. I mean, that's where we are. And with the Middle East in such a position, Carly, I just wonder, is anybody focused enough in the White House on what's going on with human pocketbooks inside the United States today, their ability, our ability as a nation to go forth?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. And I was talking to somebody in Israel today and asked him if people there are on edge right now. And he said yes and no. And that answer makes so much sense considering there's the constant threat of attack. But this 24 to 48-hour period is of heightened concern for obvious reasons. One thing that could prove to be very important in this moment is that the foreign minister of Jordan was in Iran yesterday, and the King of Jordan is speaking to President Biden today. So there could be a communication channel still open. If and how they choose to use it, we may only learn after the fact. But to your point on communication, and if people are clear-eyed in this moment, President Biden saying publicly that Benjamin Netanyahu needs to stop BSing when it comes to this negotiation. First of all, the main driver of these hostage and ceasefire negotiations are Israel, and Hamas is the one saying no. And the other question is, why is all of the public condemnation from the Biden-Harris side always against Israel? It's because it is foreign policy muddied by presidential politics when there does need to be a clear approach to our number one ally in the Middle East.
And it's important to remember it's not just this moment. It is their politics. It's every moment that they've been engaged in. So when Biden meets with leaders in the Situation Room today, he's promised Kamala she'll be the last one in the room. I'll be curious to see, is she at the table at this point for these important foreign policy decisions? They own it anyway.
And reminder, today is Ariel Beavis' 5th birthday.
Yes.
And there are still hundreds of hostages being kept.
Amen.
Where are they? And
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.